Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. You know, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Sometimes the hardest part about doing a live is actually hitting that live button. It's like, am I ready? Am I ready? Do I have all my information? Is my voice going to sound right? Is something going to screw up? So when I could just come in with a solid intro like I just did, it makes my day, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to be honest with you about two things. There's a good and a bad thing that's happening with True Crime with Strategic right now. The good thing is that tomorrow I'm going to be honored for two cases that I did. They were huge cases. One of them made national news. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but whatever. And it was a big case, and we were able to get the victim justice. The other one didn't make national news. It was a very serious case, just as serious as the one that did make national news. But I promised the victim I was going to get her justice, and I never promised a victim this, because if I disappoint them, it's almost like it's personal now. They don't ask for you to make personal promises. You should not make personal promises. It's very risky, and it's probably, I would dare say, not professional. But I did it. I did it because what I saw on the video broke my heart. And it took a long time to get that victim justice, but I did. And it didn't take a long time because we weren't doing it or it was a difficult case. It took a long time because there were so many other aspects to the case that went beyond the victim that we were working those other angles for a long time, over a year, until we finally were able to get what we needed and pull the plug. And now that person is facing probably close to life in prison if they're convicted. I will say that they're innocent until proven guilty. So I'm being honored for those two cases tomorrow, and it feels great, and I'm happy to get recognition for my hard work from my colleagues and my supervisors. And so that's what I'm gonna be doing tomorrow morning. Now, the bad thing is that I'm tired. These last 2 weeks have just been nonstop. It's the summertime. That's when that's when we get our highest volume of cases, and we get very serious cases in the summertime. Obviously, people are outside more. People are socializing. People are doing drugs, alcohol. All these different factors are coming to play, and so we get our most heinous cases in the summertime. So I've been working my butt off, and I'm very tired, very fatigued, and it's starting to catch up with me. But the show must go on. Yes. So I'm chilling, minding my business, and Aki said part 7 of Channel 6's little mini documentary for Madeline Soto just came out. Yes. So I said, you know what? We got to react to this together, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to react to part 7. We're going to read a couple of things. We're going to listen to a couple of things. We're going to try and get to a closer understanding as to why did this happen. We might never get that answer. We might never get that answer, ladies and gentlemen. So keep that in mind, because at the end of the day, at this point, the only person who has the answers is Stephen Stearns, and he might be the person least likely to give those answers. But we're still going to dig deep into this. We're still going to try when we can, when it's probative, to see if we can get a better understanding of this tragedy. So welcome to another edition of True Crime Strategic, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me on this late night. Let's jump right into this.
As to first-degree premeditated murder of Madeline Soto, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Stephen Stearns is now being held accountable for the rape and murder of Madeline Soto. But long before Stearns changed his plea in court, Stearns changed his story about what happened to the 13-year-old.
Do you have any idea where she may be?
No.
Stearns.
You guys remember these detectives? These are my favorite detectives in the whole wide world. You guys remember these guys? Hey, should I have an attorney? I don't know, But anyway, let's keep going. For those who know, they know. Let's keep going.
Originally told detectives he dropped Soto off at Hunters Creek Middle School, never to be seen alive again. But while locked up in the Osceola County Jail, Stearns told his parents by phone that Soto died the previous night at home in this upstairs room where he and the teen had gone to bed together.
She had gone to be with me earlier in the night, but I left her alone for quite a while.
Oh, she was upstairs. Okay.
Yeah, I left her alone there.
Oh, okay.
I had gone downstairs for a while, and by the time I realized anything was wrong, it was just far too late. You know, she'd been gone for a while. Just seeing her pale face and blue lips and how ice cold she was, and it's crazy. I was going to say with
Stearns.
All right, so I have narrowed down my theories. We've done a lot of theories on this channel as to why Stearns did what he did, but I've narrowed down my theory to two things. And we'll never know what the truth is, ladies and gentlemen. Even if Stearns decides to come forward and give an expose and admit everything, you will never know if what he's saying is the truth, right? First of all, hit that like button, please. Support the channel. We got close to 130 people watching us on this late night live and only 68 likes. We do need those likes to get into the algorithm. We're not asking for our egos. We just want to get into that algorithm so that the show can be shown to a wider audience. And before I tell you my two theories that I've kind of settled on, somebody did send me a super chat. So Sheila sent me a $2.99 super sticker. Thank you so much, Sheila, for supporting the channel. It's very kind of you, Sheila. All right. I've kind of narrowed down to theory A and theory B. Theory A, to me, is the more likely theory. Theory B is a and or, but it's less likely to be true. Theory A is I've now doubled back. Remember, we were one of the first people to talk about this on YouTube, about his motivation. I did a whole video about jealousy. For those of you who've been following me for a while, following my coverage on this case, you'll know, you know, okay? If you know, then you know. And if you don't know, well, go check that playlist out and find out, right? Jealousy, all right? I think the number one culprit that may have motivated Stephen Stearns for doing something so personal as asphyxiation, that's very personal. There's a reason why I'm demonstrating it for you. For those of you who are not watching us on our podcast and you're actually watching YouTube, it's a very personal crime. It's a crime of passion. It's usually a mixture of strong emotions that overcomes a person and brings them over that threshold, resulting in them doing what Stearns did in bedroom number 4 that night. And I think jealousy played a part. Why? Because remember when you see, I think we make mistakes. One of the mistakes that we make is that we're viewing Stearns' actions and viewing Stearns as the person through the lens of adults, of sound mind adults who aren't sick and diabolical like Stearns. So when we watched him talk about her crushes, when we watched him talk about that, we're looking at it like, yeah, that sounded weird, but Stearns is almost 40 years old. Why would he care about a teenage girl's crushes? We're not looking at it from the perspective of a man who's been living in arrested development, a man-child who does not even view himself as a man. He's not a mature man in his spirit and his soul. He's more akin to being on the level or pair of Maddie. So when I go back, because I go back and I listen to those shows that I did, and he's talking about the crushes, it holds more weight. What put me over the threshold was his statement in court. That statement in court really told us, it painted the story for us as to how he viewed Maddie. That was his property. That was his woman. And we all know she wasn't a woman, but try and convince Stearns of that. Stearns thinks that he loved her more than everybody in that courtroom. There's not one person in the courtroom that loved Maddie more than Stearns. There's not one person in that courtroom that understood Maddie more than Stearns. That's what he thinks in his sick mind. That's how the mind of a pedophile works. You can't understand it. I can't understand it because we're not pedophiles. But that's how his mind works. That was his woman. That was his plaything. That was his property. And when he found out that she was looking elsewhere, when he found out that she had crushes on her own peers, that was a bridge too far, ladies and gentlemen. To us, we would say, are you serious? Strategic? Could that have been the catalyst? Her having a crush on another little boy? It just doesn't make sense, Strategic. I can't believe that, Strategic. Her having a crush on another little boy is enough. Yes, it's enough. It's enough for Stearns. It's enough for a person who's sick and diabolical. A person who suffers from his mental proclivities. It's enough for that person. It's enough for a degenerate. So keep that in mind. When you look at people like Stearns, you can't look at them through the guise of your morality, because your morality doesn't exist to them. They've got their own morality, their own twisted sense of self and being. So I really honestly believe that jealousy was the catalyst. And or B. It could be a combination of A and B. It could just be A, or it could be B. What is B? Well, one of the things that made us take the most flack on YouTube when we said it. Man, YouTube almost melted down when we said it. And it's the obvious that there's a possibility that Madeline could have been pregnant. So now we replace the jealousy with panic, with self-preservation, which could be equally as powerful as hate and jealousy and passion and possession. Self-preservation. She's pregnant. She's not supposed to be pregnant. The clock is ticking for me. She's going to start showing. People are going to ask questions. When they found out that I'm the father, because they will, they're going to send me to Old Sparky. Why? Because it's a double-edged sword in places like Florida and Arkansas, and the other place that they have capital punishment for the abuse of individuals under 13 years old. I got to say it like that because of YouTube. Please forgive me. If Maddie lived and went to term and delivered her progeny, a victim of abuse, that's all it would take for Stearns to face capital punishment in the state of Florida. He didn't have to kill her. He didn't have to do none of that. Just by virtue of abusing her at that age was enough for him to face capital punishment. So Stearns is doing the numbers. She lives, I get capital punishment. I take her life, I get capital punishment. But there's a minute smidgen of a possibility I get away with taking her life if I could somehow pull off the perfect crime. The perfect crime. from what we know about Stephen Stearns and his inflated ego, the fact that he always thinks he's the smartest man in the room, don't you think it's possible and probable that he might have thought to himself that there's a minute possibility that he could get away with the crime, that he could maybe pull off the perfect crime? Remember, that minute, infinitesimal possibility of getting away with the perfect crime is still greater than the odds he would face if Maddie lived and was with child. Him getting away with it is zero compared to him trying to end her, taking away the number one witness for the state, and covering his tracks. So that's where I'm at with those two theories, theory A and theory B. Now, before we get back to this documentary, please hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. We have almost 250 people watching a live stream, just 137 likes. We'd like to see a little bit more from the chat. We appreciate you. Let's keep going.
And his parents were so convinced he could face the death penalty, they discussed what his final meal on death row might be.
I was thinking more like an entire Little Caesars pizza, some Mexican candy, 2 liters of cherry Coke.
I don't think you get a Little Caesars. You may get a frozen pizza, though.
I thought you were going to tell them to ask their mom to make her death by chocolate cake for you.
Ultimately, Stearns avoided the death penalty as part of a plea deal with prosecutors. The terms of that plea deal appear to have been shaped, at least in part, by phone calls that Stearns made while locked up here at the Osceola County Jail and while authorities were still trying to seek justice for Madeline.
All right, before we go into this next part, I want to give a big shout out to NV Ruby. And the reason why I'm giving a big shout out to NV Ruby is they're in the chat and they said just supporting, and that's it. And that's what we need, because not only do we need likes, but we also need engagement with people typing in the chat. And MV obviously has nothing probative to say, but they're still popping in to at least help us with the algorithm. So we appreciate you, MV. And if everybody could get into that chat and just say something, even if it's just a thumbs up or whatever, we would appreciate it. We're trying to grow this show, and we're fighting against a mechanism. I can't even say that it's an entity. I don't know if it's a machine or if it's alive. We're fighting against the system that's holding this channel down. Think about it, guys. I'm not trying to sound funny. I know a lot of people are going to take this the wrong way, okay? But I think we got a decent show here, and you have an active duty sex crimes detective that's bringing you his point of view. I'm working right now in the business, and yet YouTube does not promote my channel. But then if we just scroll through YouTube, you'll see people doing shows in their backyard, in their barn, and they're just saying, blah, 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 and they got 1 million views. But yet I'm bringing you 18 and a half years of dedicated service and experience, and 90% of our shows are demonetized. We don't get put into the algorithm. The show is artificially being held down. The only way to fight that is for you guys to hit the like button and for you guys to engage with the channel. All right, I'm not gonna ask again. Let's keep going.
Stephen Stearns now publicly admits he raped Madeline Soto for years.
How do you plead?
Guilty.
While talking with his parents more than a year earlier, Stearns acknowledged that prosecutors had strong evidence of him committing sex crimes.
The murder charge aside, I mean, you're pretty much on the other side.
Potentially, yeah.
Investigators say they found images on Stearns' cell phone and Google account that showed him raping Soto starting when she was as young as 8 years old.
Damn.
Strictly speaking, I'm not actually into younger people like.
I think he's lying. Number one, we know he's lying when he says this statement. First of all, I'm going to say this one more time. I believe that it started at 6. I do not believe that it started at 8. Do I know what specific actions were done at 6? I don't know. But I know that at the very least, because it's not documented by video or pictures, that's where they get that number from. It's simply when the videos and pictures started. I know for a fact that the grooming started at 6 because that's when he had access to her. starting at 6. That's number one. Number two, how can Stearns expect us? Of course, he doesn't care about us. He's trying to convince his parents. But we can even rephrase the question and say, why would Stearns believe that his parents would believe that when he says, strictly speaking, I'm not actually into younger people like that, when aside from the videos and photos that were documented, the thousands of videos and photos that were documented of Maddie on his phone, he had tens of thousands of other CSAM material on his phone of various people from around the world, various different times and eras in human history, depicting that type of diabolical material. That alone shows that you are interested in the very same people you proclaim to your parents you're not interested in them. Let's keep going.
As you know, I don't even like most kids, so it's just
of course.
Generalize.
You don't like the ones that you don't have access to and can't take advantage of. That's why you don't like them. You love the ones where you have access to them because their mom is drugged up in a sedated state and you could do whatever you want. And there are roommates who are like, I don't see nothing to see here, minding my business. You got a mommy that's drugged up, knocked out, who could care less what's happening to her daughter. And you got roommates who's like, oh, nothing to see here. What's going on? Everything good? Oh. I don't find it weird that this dude, who I think is weird, to the point where I told Jen Soto, I'm speaking in the third person, not to allow this dude to use my bathroom upstairs. But I don't think it's weird that this guy is going into bedroom number 4 with Maddie and locking the door and staying in that room with her all night long. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Does that make sense?
If you really look at this case, you take a step back, ladies and gentlemen, and you look at this case. This case was a Pete's dream. It was a Pete Files wet dream. I'm sorry to say it like that. People gonna get they're gonna get pissed off and mad at me, but it was the dream, the fantasy of a Pete. Why? You had the perfect mixture of unfortunate circumstances and people that would allow this monster to have access to Maddie. You had a no-show dad. You had a deadbeat dad. I'm trying to be nice, but I got to speak my mind. You had a deadbeat dad. You had roommates that was like, yo, I think one of them one time said, yo, listen, this is kind of weird that this guy is sleeping with her. What's going on here? And Jen was like, there's not a problem. It's all good. And then she just was like, screw it. I did my part. I said something one time. So I did my part. Nothing to see here. I got my own business to worry about. Then you have the mother who's drugged up and not paying attention to her child. And then you have a victim who doesn't trust any of the adults in her life for whatever reason. Doesn't trust any of the adults in her life. Not even the school counselor that's looking at her drawing pictures of pee-pees, doing horrible things, seeing her crying and having mood swings and showing all of the symptoms of trauma. All of the symptoms of trauma. Nothing to see here. And what do we have? You put it all together, you got a CSAM, an abuse, and a homicide case. That's what you got, ladies and gentlemen. Big shout out to Lisa Ringer with a $20 super chat for our mutual discuss of SS. Absolutely, I will humbly accept that gift because we certainly do share that mutual discuss. I appreciate you, Lisa Ringer. That's very kind of you. Let's keep going, man. And just a perfect stew of misfortune caused this tragedy. If one person would have did something different, If one person would have did something different, we would not be here right now. If one of those roommates would have picked up the phone and made an anonymous phone call and say, you know what, I just want to report that my roommate's boyfriend sleeps in the bed with my roommate's daughter and they're not related. And sometimes I hear strange noises because they did describe that they heard banging and drill sounds and all that stuff. I hear strange noises in there sometimes. That could have been enough to save Maddie's life. Nobody cared. If a school counselor, and I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just putting my opinion out there. It is an opinion show. Everything I say on the show is my opinion. That is it. Everybody's innocent till proven guilty. It is what it is. If a school counselor, and I'm sure that school had multiple school counselors, so I'm not singling out any particular school counselor. If a school counselor or a teacher would have simply made an anonymous phone call. I know people don't want to put themselves out there as mandated reporters and put their names on things, and if they're wrong, they think they might get in trouble or be liable, whatever. With a pickup phone, every single state in the United States of America allows you to make anonymous reports of neglect and abuse on juveniles. Every single state. All they had to do was pick up the phone, one of these teachers or counselors, and say, you know what? This kid is acting kind of strange. They're doing kind of strange things. They're drawing strange sexualized pictures. You know what? Maybe you should look into it. Maybe Child Welfare Services would have done nothing with it. Maybe. We will never know, because guess what? One thing we know for a fact is there was never one report from anyone to Child Protective Services that had Jen Soto's name on it and Madeline Soto's name on it. Not one report. Let's keep going.
Traction towards any of them.
Was it just her, or was it other people as well?
I can't get into specific details, but no, it was not a thing with anybody. It was.
Florida law requires authorities to redact the name of sexual abuse victims. That's why you're not hearing Madeline Soto's name in those jail audio recordings. Now, Stearns told his parents that the teen may have been attracted to him and that her mother allegedly knew about it.
She was aware that he had certain feelings towards me.
Yeah. Well, then why was she considering her to sleep with you?
She used to joke about it, call it an electric complex.
So the lecture complex. Let's go over here and swing on over here. Big shout out to the research crew sent me this in the email. What is the electric complex? A neo-Freudian psychology electric complex as proposed by Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst Carl Jung in his theory of psychoanalysis is a girl's psychosexual competition with her mother for possession of her father. In the course of her psychosexual development, the complex is the girl's phallic stage. A boy's analogous experience is the opidius complex. The electric complex occurs in the third phallic stage, ages 3 to 6, of 5 psychosexual development stages: the oral, the anal, the phallic, and the latent and the genital, in which the source of libido pleasure is in a different erogenous zone of the infant's body. What the? This is some serious psychological mumbo jumbo. Well, let's keep going. The idea of the electric complex is not widely used by mental health professionals today. There is little empirical evidence for it, as the theory's predictions do not match scientific observations of the child development. It is not listed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So this is basically a debunked theory, but it was like an early theory, and theories have to start somewhere. We had to believe that the earth was flat before we figured out that it was round, So I get it. What I've noticed for like these very old school psychologist dudes, there's something that makes me feel like a lot of those guys were very perverted, to be honest with you. Like they had a very deep infatuation with people's sexual development, but whatever. What do I know? Let's keep going.
Electra complex refers to a female character in Greek mythology who competed with her mother for her father's affection. Jennifer Soto admitted to detectives she was worried her daughter might someday run away with Stearns.
I told him that was my biggest fear and I don't ever want that happening. You can't do that to me.
They used to both ogle over me and comment on me and talk about me together and giggle and talk about how nice I looked, and it was not an appropriate situation.
No, it wasn't.
But while Stearns now admits he raped Soto,
It It was not an appropriate situation. He's so self-loathing. It was only inappropriate because you allowed it to be inappropriate. Like let's say that, you know, Jen was into kind of weird, illegal stuff. Let's say she tested him. If he was a stand-up guy, he'd have put that to bed from the beginning. But like, no, this is inappropriate. I don't like this situation that we're in right here. That's not going to happen. She's not going to sleep in the bed with us because I'm not her real father. So she can't sleep in the bed with us. And if you got a problem with that, I'll sleep on the couch. You know, these are the things Stearns should have said if he was a man who was healthy in his mind, but he's not healthy in his mind. He's a sick individual. But anyway, let's keep going.
No, it wasn't.
But while Stearns now admits he raped Soto, he does not admit to intentionally killing her.
Stearns, how do you plea to first-degree premeditated murder in 24 CF 1293?
No contest.
By pleading no contest, Stearns refused to accept responsibility for intentionally taking Soto's life.
Now, this disappointed me. I don't know if I did a show on it already. I'll just tell you guys how I feel about it here. This disappointed me. We're not even about him pleading no contest. We'll talk about that. What disappointed me is that the judge, allowed him, and I think the judge may have forgot, but still wanted him to have the opportunity to say his piece. But for whatever reason, the judge allowed him to have the final word. And number two, the judge had no words. This is highly irregular. Usually judges will say something, especially when you have a defendant who makes the most horrible statement. And he is the last person to make the statement. He got to say the final word. And so if you were the judge, right, and you're like, I'm not going to say anything. This is a deal. Let them do what it is. He's going to spend the rest of his life. I'm not going to waste my breath on this guy. I get that. I get that if you said Stearns, and technically Stearns is supposed to talk before the judgment goes down, but it was a deal, you know, and everybody knew that the only thing the judge could sentence him to is life in prison without the possibility of parole. So I get that. It's not like a typical deal where you could sway the judge to give you a little less or a little bit more. So your statement, your allocution is a little bit more important, right? But still, he's supposed to speak, and then the family's supposed to have the final word, and then the judge has the last word on the matter. And then you go to jail and it's over. But let's say the judge didn't want to do that. He didn't want to say nothing. The fact that he allowed Stearns to speak and Stearns didn't say, I'm sorry. He just said, I'm sorry she's gone, because I love her more than everybody in here. That's basically what he was saying. I'm paraphrasing now exactly what he said, but that's what I took it. I took it like, I love her more than all of you guys, and I'm sorry that she's no longer here. It's at that point that judge should at least said something. Even if he didn't plan on saying something, when he heard that evil mumbo jumbo coming out of Stephen Stearns' mouth, I think he had a duty to say something, and he didn't say nothing. He didn't say a thing. He allowed Stephen Stearns to have that final diabolical statement, read it before the family of Madeline Soto. And then he just said, okay, we're adjourned. Why am I using the remote as a gavel when I got a gavel here? Adjourned. See you later. Peace. I got to go get some of my latte. This is actually a latte. This is like the big bottle of Starbucks latte that you buy at Walmart, save money. It's actually, I need to get the latte. That's what he did. That's messed up, man. I think that was very unprofessional. I think it sucked. And I think Maddie deserved better. But let's keep going, man.
That plea is consistent with phone conversations Stearns had with his parents. Stearns admitted the teen died in this room where they'd gone to bed together, but he did not admit to purposely killing her. The medical examiner says Soto died by strangulation.
Well, I discovered her in the state that she was in after everything was said and done. So, obviously I can't get into detail, but no, I was not aware that she had passed on. As you know, I'm up and down throughout the night, and I was not in the room the whole time. It's not like you just suddenly feel someone's ghost to pass away from them. It's a discovery. And
so she wasn't even in the same room with you?
Well, I mean, she was in the room that I started in, but, you know, I'm up and down throughout the night, and I tend to wander around the house. And...
You know, like, I feel like he's such a bad person, man. I mean, it goes without saying that, but it's like when you feel somebody's ghost leaving you, it's a discovery. Like, he's not talking about discovering the body. Like, he's talking about the experience of witnessing her life leave her body. How do you talk that way? It just shows you that he has no remorse for what he did. He doesn't care about the fact that he took her life, to the point where he tries to make this tragedy beautiful, but it's not beautiful. There's nothing beautiful about it. It's horrible. It's totally horrible. But he tries to talk eloquently about it and tries to make it sound poetic and somehow beautiful, but it's not. It's disgusting.
Fiddle around on my phone and step out front, feel the nice cool night air and all that. So I was gone from the room for, I mean, obviously I really can't get into too many details, but
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't discover what had happened until just around dawn.
Okay.
You know,
Interesting.
because I discovered that she was ice cold.
Well, all I can say, Stephen, is that my heart breaks for you, because I know that's something that you never would have done and never would have wanted to have done to her.
Damn right.
Neither would we. I just think, you know, maybe God just delivered her out of a place that was going to become really bad for her.
I always knew that life was going to be hard.
Right.
for her.
So God, so Miss Stearns then gives us her wisdom, you know, Sister Stearns, because we know that she a preacher. She loved quoting the word. So maybe God, oh my word.
Oh my God.
Maybe Jesus. Did you hear what I said? Maybe Jesus delivered her from something more terrible. Jesus. More terrible than Stephen Stearns. Did you hear that? Maybe Jesus delivered her from something more terrible than Stephen Stearns by allowing her to pass away, because there were other things happening worse in her life than being in the presence and in the same space as Stephen Stearns. Where's the other one?
Does that make sense?
Are you kidding me? Seriously, guys, listen to that again so you could truly understand what I'm saying in context. She's saying, like, maybe it's good that she passed away because maybe she is being saved from something worse. But what she doesn't seem to comprehend, at least at this moment when she was talking to him, I'll give it to her, maybe she thinks differently now. But what she didn't comprehend at this moment is that the most dangerous thing that existed in Maddie's life was not her mother, was not her home life, which is what I think that Steph's mom's was alluding to, because she just hates Jen Soto. She hates Jen Soto more than we do. She didn't seem to understand that the most dangerous thing in Maddie's life was Stephen Stearns, man.
Oh, hell no.
She didn't get that. She couldn't figure that out without us pointing it out to her. I just think, you know, maybe God just delivered her out of a place that was going to become really bad for her. That was going to become really bad, as though it wasn't already bad. The moment Stephen Stearns stepped into her life, you got to make that make sense.
Does that make sense?
Listen to Mama Stearns speak about this.
Neither would we. I just think, you know, maybe God just delivered her out of a place that was going to become really bad for her.
I always knew that life was going to be hard for her. Her mom certainly didn't do her any favors.
And then he buttresses what she says, because they family, man. They all raised from the same cloth, man. He buttresses what she says by doubling down by saying, yeah, I agree with you 100%, mama. I always knew that life was going to be hard for her. Totally absolving himself of all that he's doing to Maddie. Her mom certainly didn't do her any favors. Yeah, she didn't do her any favors because she allowed you into her life. Don't you get that? Like, you thought you was doing her a favor when you stole her innocence? Like, you thought you was doing her a favor when you was abusing her? You thought that you were a bright light in a bright spot in her life because you were 40-something, almost 40-year-old man was buying her Tamagotchis for her birthday? Other kids her age are getting Coach bags and, Yeezy slippers, and you bought her a Tamagotchi. And then when people went home and turned off the lights, we know what else you got her too. This guy's he's an animal. He thinks that he was a bright spot in her life. But people are okay with him doing life in prison because that's justice. Allowing him to continue his existence is justice. That's not justice for me. This guy does not deserve to be amongst us. He does not deserve to breathe our collective air. We knew what we were supposed to do. We had an assignment. The good Lord gave us all the tools, all the knowledge to execute the assignment. And guess what we did? We failed collectively because we allowed William J. to be the vehicle of our justice. And William J., oh man, that's a special kind of guy. He's the type of guy.
Dirt under the bridge.
That everything is dirt under the bridge. William J. never found a deal he didn't want to make. May I remind you, beautiful people, that he's the guy who had video evidence of a woman putting her boyfriend inside of a suitcase, zipping him up, and maybe I'm wrong, he put himself in the suitcase, zipping him up, and watching him slowly asphyxiate to death. And William J. offered her 12 years. And with time served and good time, she'd have been out in 7. It is by the grace of the good Lord that she's insane and narcissistic and surviving off an alcohol brain that she decided to take it to trial and got life. If we left it just to William J., she'd have been out in 7 years. Let's keep going.
I didn't do her any favors, and since I had no say in the matter of how she was raised or disciplined or anything, there was nothing I could do about it but sit back and watch the train wreck as it unfolded.
On the day prosecutors announced they would be seeking the death penalty, Stearns called his parents again.
I hate to say it, but I'd rather have you on death row because you're in more seclusion and you're not really with the bulk of the population of the people.
Well, I hate to say it, but I'd rather be on death row too.
Why couldn't we give him his wish? He just told us what he wanted. Somebody said in the chat, we talked about this in the members only area. You should be a member. If you're not a member, you're missing out on a lot. Members in Patreon, you better believe I put exclusive content up there that you will never see if all you do is catch the live show. We spoke about this on the members only. Somebody said to me in the chat, well, Strategic, he said he wanted life in prison. So it's good that he got, well, he said he wanted death row, so it's good that he got life in prison because that's not what he wanted. And I said, I don't care what he wants. I don't care what he wants. What we wanted was justice. What we wanted was what was right. And if he wanted what was right, well, guess what? For the first time in your life, Stephen Stearns, we agree on something. Stearns deserved the chair. He didn't get it. So ultimately, he got what he wanted because he gets to live.
For each count, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
By entering pleas, Stearns avoided the death penalty.
I have nothing but sorrow for her loss. And I miss her all the time. Her passing has torn me and my family apart as well.
How tore you and your family apart, bro? Your brother never spoke to you in the first place, and your mommy and your daddy still tell you, they still send you root beer barrel candy. They got it on the Amazon subscription. It automatically comes twice a month. I'm making that up. I don't know. But it's all about him. Let's keep going.
She truly was a joy.
Stearns' parents were not in the courtroom on the day their son was sentenced. Neither was Madeline Soto's mother, Jennifer. The victim's father was there.
I just loved her so much.
Tyler Wallace supports the plea agreement, which spares him from attending 2 trials where he'd hear graphic details about his daughter's rape and murder.
The only thing I liked about Tyler Wallace's statement is that he told the truth about his relationship with Maddie. And he told the truth about the poor choices that he made as a father. And that redeemed him a little bit to me. In that, in this moment, when the whole world was watching, he chose not to be a coward and hide from his past, hide from his decisions. Because if she trusted him, she would have told him. If he was a real father, he would have found out, he could have nipped it in the butt. And she could have lived. I'm not trying to put that on his shoulders, so I'm sorry if that sounded that way. This is not Tyler Wallace's fault. It's not his fault. But it's just another example about how Maddie had nobody that she could trust in her life. And that's why she shouldered that burden, that trauma on her own little shoulders all by herself until the very end. Let's keep going.
It just gets worse every time I rethink about it and the true horror of what this man visited upon her. And I can only hope that he lives a long time in prison and has those same horrors revisited upon him by his fellow inmates.
If Stearns later decides to withdraw his guilty or no contest pleas, the state attorney's office says it will continue its pursuit of seeking the death penalty against him and possibly add additional sex crimes charges. Prosecutors have not charged anyone else in connection with Madeline Soto's death. I'm News 6 investigator Mike DeForest.
Mike, we appreciate you, man. Big shout out to News 6. We'll definitely have the link down in the chat. We have done an entire series on it. Somebody in the chat was like, where's the rest of the part, Strategic? We've been covering this for a while. We've been going through each part. So you can go ahead and if we haven't made a playlist of it, we'll go ahead and make a playlist of it with those individual videos in one spot so people could check it out. I think News 6 did an amazing job at making this work. There are some other things I wanted to play, but I think we're going to end up leaving it here, ladies and gentlemen, simply because I have an early day tomorrow. I have the ceremony where, like I said, I'm going to be honored for 2 cases that I did, and I definitely need to get some rest too. So guys, it's just been a great show. I think it's very informative. I love what News 6 did. It really breaks my heart every time I have to watch that final court date and listen to Stephen Stearns make his final statement. It really breaks my heart because I know how the system is supposed to work. And I've rarely ever seen it work the way that I saw it work. Rarely have I ever seen it work the way that I saw it work. And that's what makes it so disappointing, because I know that those prosecutors could have done better. I know they could have done better. The only real winners here, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's not even Stephen Stearns. The real winner here is the defense team of Stephen Stearns. They did an amazing job representing Stephen Stearns. I'm going to say that one more time. And you guys know how I feel about prosecutors and defense attorneys, but more specifically defense attorneys. I have the utmost of respect for them because they are in the Constitution. Our founding fathers understood that there had to be people defending citizens from the government. Our founding fathers knew that the government would have all the resources to railroad you, and that you had to be able to put forth a rigorous defense against the government. And that's why the job of a defense attorney is so important, that they defend sometimes people that appear to be indefensible, like Stephen Stearns. And I'm not mad at those prosecutors for doing a professional job and saving their client's life, because believe it or not, that was their only goal. There was one goal, and that goal was to save their client's life. And guess what? They succeeded at it. I'm upset with the prosecution because they had one job, and that was to bring us justice. And instead, they made a deal so they don't have to go to trial, because trials are difficult and they're time consuming. And guess what? Let's blame the family and say, well, this is what the family wanted. Well, I want to take a poll. So somebody get the Sotos on the line. I want to take a poll. How many of you Sotos wanted life in prison instead of capital punishment? Because the only thing I hear is, well, the dad, this is what the dad wanted because the dad didn't want to hear all that stuff inside of the court. And guess what? There's no way I could say that's wrong. But every time I want to have empathy for that dad and say, yeah, man, yeah, it always pops up in the back of my head. Well, what the hell was you when she needed you? So now we want to save you from listening to the grimy details of what was happening to your daughter while you was in Texas living your best life, working in your vape shop for minimum wage hours. Now we got to worry about how your feelings feel. But when this girl was navigating all this trauma all by herself with no support system and no dad that she felt she could call upon to help her, where were you? Well, let's leave that an open-ended question. Where were you, Tyler? It is what it is. Anyway, I see you guys on the next one. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We have almost 360 people watching this live right now. Please hit that like button. Get those likes up for me. We do appreciate it. Remember, we do have one of the lowest memberships on YouTube. Our memberships start at 99 cents. Of course, if you get a higher tier, you get more benefits, but it starts at 99 cents because we wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to be a part of our family. So consider showing love to True Crime and Strategic. Remember, after YouTube gets their cut, it's 30%. That 99 cents turns to 70%. And after Uncle Sam gets their cut, that 99 cents is down to 50 cents. So basically, we really have a 50-cent membership, even though it says 99 cents. Why? Because we want everybody to have an opportunity to be a part of this family and experience exclusive content. So consider becoming a member of True Crime and Strategic, and also consider becoming a member of our Patreon, where you get a more raw and personal experience of True Crime and Strategic. Guys, I appreciate you immensely. For all the people who are part of the family, we love you. We appreciate you. For all the haters, you just keep on hating. It's all good. We don't care. When you're a cop long enough, you don't care what anybody has to say about you. I'll see you guys on the next one. Strategic. I'm always saying, and I never cue up the outro. Take your time, Strategic. Click the outro. Now let's end the show. See you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Peace. Hold on here. I think I missed a super chat. Don't want to do that. Definitely want to show love to whoever's showing love to me. So real quick, we got Shayla gave me a $2.99 super sticker. Sheila gave a $4.99 super chat that says, does that make sense? That was funny. I saw that one and then I pressed it, does that make sense? But I was in the middle of a sentence, so I didn't read it. Lisa Ringer says, for our mutual discussive SS. We read that one out. And MM Clear with a $5 super chat says, Strategic, everyone failed Maddie except YouTube creators and their audience. Maddie's family and William J. failed her. I got to agree with you on that one, MM Clear. We cared, we tried, we did our best. We brought awareness to the case. We allowed the whole world. I have people from Australia, from Africa, from Japan, from South America, from Canada, from the UK, from Ireland. I mean, literally, if I'm going to name everybody, I'll literally name almost every single person on the planet except from people from Antarctica who has watched my show and gave shout outs in the chat saying, I'm here from you fill in the blanks and I'm here to find out about Maddie. We brought her story to the whole world. We did our part, and that's all we could do. See you guys on the next one. Peace.